Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to our 11th session of the 2020 CCDEH virtual training series. For those of you who don't know me, my name is April Meneghetti, and I'm the Director of Environmental Health in Yolo County, and I'm the CCDEH past president. I want to start us off by giving a big thank you to our sponsors. First, I want to start by thanking Acela, who's sponsoring our training series and providing our Zoom support. Thank you very much. Also, I want to thank Hedgerow, who sponsored 3 rural county scholarships, and also KHA for sponsoring 20 retired director scholarships. I hope you enjoy our session today, and I hope you'll join us for our upcoming sessions, which will continue through November 5th. And next, I'm going to hand it off to Jeff Lamore, who's our CCDEH president.
Thank you, April. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to CCDEH's virtual training series. The live training series is open to all CCDEH members, including associate members. In order to receive your CEUs for each training session, you'll need to complete the course evaluation located towards the middle of the virtual training series webpage. There you go. Click on the REHS course evaluation tab, click next, and complete the requested information. For CCDEH members, 1 certificate will be issued at the conclusion of the training series. Only those sessions you have attended and have completed a course evaluation for will be listed on your certificate. For all other REHSs, you can log on to CCDEH's website to access the training series. Once you've completed the training series, return to the virtual training series webpage and complete the course evaluation and obtain your certificates. I have a couple of reminders for you. First, make sure you complete your evaluations by November 5th. The certificates will be posted, I believe, in your account by November 6th. So please make sure if you haven't completed the evaluations, go back and complete each of the evaluations. Again, all of your completed evaluations or completed evaluations will be on 1 certificate. So you need to make sure that's done by the 5th so that you can receive your certification on November 6th. Also, again, the video series is located under the events tab. The training videos will be posted within a week or so after each live session. Again, non-registered members can go to the events tab to access the videos in the video library. You can also access CCDEH's 2020 member directory under the course evaluation. Please remember to use the Q&A function when asking questions. Very important, go to the Q&A function. And lastly, in the reminders, the October 29th session has been updated, and the topic will be emergency consideration of drinking water. So that has changed on the 29th, so please keep that in mind. And with that, I'd like to introduce Rebecca Ng, Director of Marin County Environmental Health Services. With that, I will turn it over to Rebecca. Rebecca, you need to take it off mute.
Hi, everyone. As Jeff introduced me, I'm Becky Ng. I also am the chairperson of the CCDEH Professional Development Committee. And we will be presenting today a panel discussion on is the current REHS program serving the profession well in California? And this has originated because we are talking about this because several directors over the past year, we've talked about the problems we have had hiring qualified candidates to fill positions of senior environmental health specialists, supervisors, program managers, and of course, directors. So this panel will discuss possible reasons for the difficulty, and hopefully we have some solutions to this question. I'm going to give you a brief overview, brief background of our panel, and as we go, you will see each one of them as they give their presentations. So we will start with Dave Conway, who is the Director of the Environmental Health Unit of Mariposa County in Health and Human Services. Dave has been in the environmental health field for 32 years, with the last 10 as director. Dave is one of the past CCDEH representatives to the state Environmental Health Specialist Registration Committee. Dave conducted a survey just recently about recruiting REHSs and managers. He's going to tell us about his findings. Sarah Crossman is a supervising environmental health specialist with Riverside County Environmental Health. Sarah is a CHA past president and has been a member of the state registration committee since 2012. Sarah will discuss why an REHS may not want to become a manager. Veronica Malloy has been the program administrator for the state registration program since 2011 and an REHS since the year 2000. Veronica is going to tell us about the out-of-state applicants for equivalency since that program began in 2018. Dr. Michael Sullivan is a professor of environmental and occupational health at California State University at Northridge. He is a certified industrial hygienist and an REHS. Dr. Sullivan is a member of the state registration committee, and he will discuss recruiting REHS health scientists into management. Freddie Agyin, the director of the City of Vernon Health and Environmental Control Department, is one of the current CCDEH representatives to the state registration committee. Freddie's going to wrap up the presentations with what the directors could do better in what's next. And Darryl Wong, director of San Benito County Environmental Health, has been in the environmental health field for over 30 years. Darryl is the other current member of the CCDEH representatives to the state registration committee. Darryl's going to join us for questions and discussion about our conclusions and recommendations. There we go. Okay, so again, the premise was that, the initial premise was that the environmental health agencies are having difficulty hiring qualified REHSs for upper and middle management levels. And that our discussion will go into possible reasons and hopefully solutions. So Dave Conway will be discussing recruiting REHSs and management staff survey.
Good morning. As Becky said, my name is Dave Conway. I'm the Environmental Health Director for Mariposa County and past member of the Environmental Health Specialist Committee. First, I want to say thank you to the 50+ members from 45 different jurisdictions that were able to complete the survey. I know surveys are kind of a pain. We see them come through often, and I was very impressed with the number of individuals that took the time to complete this survey. In the past, this committee has focused on promoting the environmental health profession at the entry level. As Becky said earlier, we started thinking and seeing that it appears there are gaps in this more senior and mid-management level. We've moved that committee from what used to be called the Environmental Health Professions Promotion Committee over to, we now call it the Professional Development Committee. So this survey was designed to get a little more information to see if our hypothesis that the industry was having trouble with mid-management and director positions. Next slide. You get the next slide, Becky?
I'm having trouble.
Becky, try clicking on it and then advancing again. There you go.
Okay. So we, in the survey, we asked all of the members of CCDH from all 62 jurisdictions the following questions. Which category of REHS does your agency have the most trouble filling? What do you see as the major barrier to recruiting mid-management positions? Does your agency offer an incentive for employees to further their education in pursuit of mid-management or director positions? Are the barriers to successful recruitment the same for all job classifications within your agency as they are for REHSs, or is it more difficult to hire REHSs? Then we asked, do you require or encourage a master's degree or higher for management level positions? And if so, do you give credit for experience in lieu of that higher degree? I asked which jurisdiction you represent just so I could get an idea of how many different jurisdictions responded, but did not use that in the analysis. And then asked which classification you were in, if you were manager or director. So at this point in time, we're going to ask a pop-up question, get a little audience participation going. So Kim, if you could. Yeah, so the poll question is, which category do you think had the highest response to the question, which category of REHS does your agency have the most trouble filling? I'm not asking which one you are necessarily having the trouble, but who you think more people said. Was it entry level, journey level, mid-management, or director? I'll give you a few seconds to answer that question. So a few more seconds to answer. In entry level, so for the poll, we see mid-management as being the highest, with journey level coming in right behind that with 40%. Similar to what our premise was. However, when we did the survey, what popped out was almost 70% of the respondents said the trouble is with the journey level, and others weren't as hard to fill. Next slide. We miss a question? Go back one. Yeah, so next question was, what do you see as the major barrier to recruiting mid-management positions? You know, this was pretty much across the board with, interestingly enough, I didn't expect to see pay scale compared to other localities quite as high as it came out, but with 60%, greater than 60%, almost 70% of the respondents saying that someone else is paying more than we are. Next question, next slide. We asked, does your agency offer an incentive for employees to further their education in pursuit of mid-management or director position? And about 60% of the respondents said yes in some form, and 40% did not offer any type of incentive. In fact, some gave quite a high amount of incentive to pay for tuitions out there. Next. Are the barriers to successful recruitment the same for all job classifications within your agency as they are for REHSs? No surprise here, harder to find REHSs to fill the positions than it is. However, there was better than 30% of the respondents said it's just as just as hard to hire anyone out there. Next, do you require or encourage a master's degree or higher for management level positions? Nobody actually required it. Almost 50% said that it's not even addressed in their job description, but the other 50% said that it is, in fact, encouraged. Next. And so the interesting result here is that the question asked, do you give credit for experience in lieu of the higher degree? Most of everyone, almost 90% said yes, they do, but it was actually the opposite of this. They, because they don't have a degree requirement, they gave credit for that degree rather than having a, if for instance, if the job description said 5 years of experience, they would knock off a year or sometimes 2 if you had a higher degree. Next question. So about 60% of the respondents were environmental health directors. The other 40% were mid-management and other categories. Some indicated that they were from various different sections within their, like mainly the food group or others. So that concludes the survey part, and coming up next will be Sarah Crossman telling us why people may not want to move into management.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm going to talk about why REHSs may not necessarily want to become managers. So on the slide, here are some reasons people may be hesitant in trying to take on a higher role within an organization. This is by no means a comprehensive list, but some that I've heard from colleagues, and I want to explore the last 2 sentiments in particular today and what can be done with a succession plan to overcome them. Next slide. To start to look at this problem, we have to look at how the workforce is composed. There are currently 4 generational groups out in the workforce right now. Baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, also known as millennials, and Generation Z. Now, it's important to note that Generation Z are the newest members to our work community, and even though they're important and they're going to be crucial to the future of our profession, they are just now graduating college and starting to enter the workforce and not ready for management positions yet. Next slide. So how do these generations perform at work? Baby boomers are driven. They focus on relationships and results and believe that experience should be the most important factor to get promoted. Generation X are big on work-life balance and focus on getting results. They believe that merit is the most important factor in whether a promotion is given. Millennials are more autonomous, more disconnected from a physical work site and able to independently operate without direct oversight while making their contribution to an overall work product. And they believe the value of their contribution should be the most important factor in getting promoted. Next slide. So how do the generations view management and work? Baby boomers believe that the more they are there, the more authority they have and should have due to longevity. Where Generation X tend to challenge and test authority figures regardless of how long they've been there. Millennials test authority because it clashes with their individuality, but they seek out validation for their contributions and guidance from those they perceive in authority. Kind of a love-hate relationship, but which can be confusing and challenging to understand and mitigate. Baby boomers are the classic workaholics. They believe the more they are there and seen, the more value they are perceived as having. Gen X is more focused on getting the job done and less about how much time it takes. They're willing to work overtime to get the job done, but would prefer to get the job done in less time than what is allocated. Millennials are effective workers who view work as a gig, something that fills the time between weekends. They're unwilling to commit any additional time than the absolute minimum unless they're being compensated or rewarded in some way that's of value to them. Baby boomers are willing to sacrifice their home life for a promotion. So their work-life balance is not necessarily balanced. Gen X grew up in baby boomer households, so they tend to focus more on that work-life balance, realizing that both are equally important. They don't worry about taking time off. They work to live, and having that balance is very important to them. But occasionally they will sacrifice it to get the job done. Millennials kind of build on this. They not only balance working life, but also community involvement and self-development. This means that work is a smaller proportion of a millennial worker's life interest than in prior generations. Millennials are more likely to ask for flexible work schedules, job sharing, sabbaticals, so that they can go out and fill those other life ambitions. Millennials definitely work to live and value their lifestyle, even more than upward mobility. And they will even sacrifice a promotional opportunity if it means to change, if it meant a change to their work-life balance. So in summary, we've gone from baby boomers to millennials, where we've gone to having a workforce that sculpted their lives around work, to now workers who want to sculpt their work around their lives. Next slide, please. So how do you motivate these groups, especially to take on a new role? Baby boomers like hearing and feeling that they're needed and valued. They like this to be expressed with money, public recognition, plaques, certificate titles, and other acknowledgments. This can go a long way to motivate and encourage a baby boomer. Generation X want to have freedom and trust to do things their own way. They are motivated by autonomy, benefits, and time off, and not necessarily with public recognition or awards. And even though freedom and being able to do the job their own way is important to them, and they kind of want a hands-off approach from management or supervision, they still want structure. They still want coaching, and they want regular constructive feedback so that they can do their job more effectively. Millennials are motivated by time off, meaningful work, and working with others. They like to be given frequent feedback, and they'll even ask for it. They want extremely clear goals, expectations, structure, and supervision with frequent communication, and they want recognition from their bosses or their heroes. Next slide, please. So how can you take these elements and apply it to your workforce? Well, a succession plan needs to appeal to the core traits of each generation and fulfill their needs in order to successfully entice people to want to move into higher roles. The classical perks of management align well with motivators for baby boomers, namely titles, money, recognition. Baby boomers will look and seek out in-house training, and they see it as a way to help get towards a promotion or additional compensation, and they will seek those opportunities within the organization themselves. However, these classical perks don't necessarily attract Gen X or millennials. Now for Gen X, they're encouraged by increased benefits and in particular time off. They want a casual work environment. They want to feel that they are working with you and not necessarily for you. They want to have the freedom to change rules and improve the organization or parts of the organization. To entice Gen X, management needs to be seen as a pathway to greater self-sufficiency. They will leave in a second if a better deal comes along, and you could see this as disloyal, but Gen X see it as being loyal to themselves. They have a proactive approach to career development, and they will seek out professional development opportunities through more experiences and or degrees, both within the organization and outside it. To encourage their loyalty to the organization, it's essential that the succession trainings be provided in-house with clear emphasis on future opportunities for advancement and the ability to try new things and make a difference within the organization. Now, the challenge with engaging millennials with management is the need for a greater level of commitment to work over their other life commitments. Managing is neither a gig or a 9-to-5 job. The day-to-day demands of a manager require flexibility and commitment. So succession planning and training will have to link the management's role to fulfillment of those other ambitions millennials have, namely improving the community, making a contribution, improving oneself and others. So you're going to need to show how the role of managing can have a greater impact on the community as a whole. Millennials want to try new things. They want to raise the bar, meet goals. They're really big into mentorship programs where their optimism is welcome and nurtured. They want options, work options that are flexible and tailored to them, where they're respected and there's time spent specifically on them and nurturing them and their ideas. And they're commended for decisions that they make. They want more experiences and opportunities. And if they don't get this at work, they're going to seek it elsewhere. They're not afraid of risks, and they don't mind making mistakes because they view them as learning opportunities. So to begin to increase your pool of candidates for advancement, you need to start planning, mentoring, and tailoring your succession plan to the core values of your workforce. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Veronica Malloy for the talk about equivalency.
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation to be here. Today, my discussion is going to give you all a kind of a summary of what the recruitment activities are in terms of the equivalency determination that was rolled out in July of 2018. So this is the California Health and Safety Code section that kind of describes how to become a successful equivalency applicant. So the important thing here is that a person has to hold a current certificate of registration that's been issued either by a U.S. state or a U.S. territory. And the requirements have to be consistent with the provisions of our statute in terms of education and experience. And that timeline is actually at the time that the certificate was granted. And again, the educational requirements have to be at least as stringent. In other words, if somebody comes in with an application for equivalency and they're missing a microbiology class, that does not meet the equivalency determinations for the REHS in California. Next slide. So here is a summary of some of the requests that we've received over the years. The first one is our NEHA equivalency, and I'm going to tell you that if you took the NEHA exam and passed it prior to December 1992, you automatically have reciprocity with the state of California, simply because the REHS exam and the sanitarian exam at that time was the same. So over the years, again, we've had 20 from Oregon, Arizona, and of course, you know, the neighborhood states. So that's you know, quite explainable. We've got a couple from Montana, Washington, and Maryland. We have one pending from Michigan, and then 4 from Florida, Nevada, and Utah. And these requests are actually sent directly to our office with all the requested information in order to accept the application. Next slide. So who are those that we've actually denied? And I want to make this a little more clear for everybody. You have the opportunity to sit for the NEHA exam, but the result of simply sitting for the NEHA exam and passing doesn't qualify you for equivalency unless the NEHA exam is registered and recognized by a state or territory. So Arizona, and I think there's another state that actually takes the NEHA exam and kind of tailors it for their particular state requirements, and then issues the certificate after the exam is passed by the applicant. Our applicant from Washington did not complete educational requirements. If you don't know this, Hawaii has a sunset law that was established in 1992, and they actually repealed the regulation to license their sanitarians or environmental health specialists. Our applicant from Arizona unfortunately let their registration lapse, and they were not able to get it back in time to apply for equivalency. Maryland, again, unfortunately, they had an environmental health program was discontinued when the state EH program coordinator retired. And then that ended that curriculum, and it no longer met the consistency rule under the California REHS. And I want to mention we did have a Canadian applicant, which is nice because this kind of reflects how broad-based we are in terms of reaching out to some of the candidates. So across the border are always good. But this applicant, unfortunately, did not hold a certificate from either a U.S. state or a U.S. territory, so we had to deny. Next slide. So here's the good news. The applications that we have accepted for equivalency since 2018, we have 9 new REHSs who do hold not only a certificate in their state, but actually hold a certificate from California. We do have 2 pending applications. They have already been approved, but we are waiting for their initial registration fee to be submitted, and then again, they will join those 9 new REHSs. So just to run down the list, Kentucky, North Carolina, and New Jersey happen to have universities that reflect some of our Option 5 curriculum. And if you remember our Option 5 schools, you'll hear a little bit later after my presentation from Dr. Michael Sullivan, who is part of the faculty at the California State University of Northridge. So again, Kentucky, North Carolina, 2 from New Jersey actually have the Option 5 curriculum that actually reflects ours. Our 2 candidates from Arizona, one of them is pending, and again, I included some of their educational experience here. The Brigham Young University applicant has a BS in microbiology. We are actually waiting for his initial registration fee to be submitted. We had one Arizona EHS. She graduated from Grand Valley with a bachelor's degree in health science and is currently actually trained in Los Angeles County. So trained in Los Angeles County, went back to Arizona, passed the Arizona exam, and then came back and applied for equivalency, which was pretty clever, I think. Our registrant from Michigan has his BS in environmental health from Ferris State University, and again, that one is one of the 2 that are pending. Oregon, we have 2 bachelor's of science degrees. They are both full-fledged California, New York new REHSs, but they do hold their registration in Oregon. And as far as I know, none of these have actually submitted an application for a position in California. All but 1. So we've got 2 from Nevada. Our first candidate graduated with a bachelor's degree in biology, and then she also has a master's degree in public health, and she's currently employed with Marin County. And then lastly, the REHS from Nevada has his bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and his master's degree in biomedical engineering. And he went back and is finishing up his PhD in public health. But that degree is also pending. Next slide. So I was asked to kind of break down some of the experience and qualifications of our non-candidates. And currently the three of those candidates have 10 plus years of experience. One of them as a supervisor, one of them as a program manager, and then again, the third as a division manager. There are 2 candidates who have greater than 5 years of experience as a sanitarian or a registered environmental health specialist. There are 5 candidates with less than 5 years of experience in the field. And then 1 candidate has no experience. She's actually going back to get her master's degree in nursing. So that's the end of my presentation. I'd like to pass it off to Dr. Michael Sullivan.
Hello, thank you for having me today. I have just a few slides that I'll touch upon, and it starts with an outline. I'm going to give a hypothesis about what I'll present in terms of the issue of recruiting REHS health scientists into management. Talk briefly about the bachelor's and master's EOH program at Cal State Northridge, and then talk a little more about the training of our MS students, specifically in the areas of management, and then make some recommendations of how we can try and connect those students with the various counties across the state for job opportunities. Next slide, please. So I would propose as my hypothesis that indeed there is a qualified pool of REHS health scientists that are in California and looking for management positions. And I believe that's true because I interact with them on a regular basis, almost every day in the, well, no longer in the classroom, but virtually. I'm interacting with these students, and many of them are very interested in looking for management positions, and that's why they have decided to go on for their master's in EOH. Next slide, please. So this slide, I wanted just to outline a few of the differences between the bachelor's degree and the master's degree at CSUN and EOH. Certainly both programs require a foundational understanding of science, math, biology, chemistry, and physics. Our students in both programs get training in both environmental health and occupational health. They have classes in policy and regulations, data collection, or sampling, we could call it, and also training in EOH programs. But in the master's program, we go on and do additional, let's see, I have there we go, a box hiding my slide. We do additional training in the master's program in program management, in data interpretation and decision making, and on business management principles. And these last 3 points are specifically designed to prepare the MS student to move into a management position where they'll be managing people, managing programs, helping to design data collection and interpret the results. And our students I believe, are well prepared to do that. Next slide, please. Some of the specific classes that our MS students are taking that focus on what I believe is specific management training. We have environmental and occupational health, which is 501A, administration of EHS programs that is taught from the perspective of an EHS manager. We get into the issues of organization, staff management, decision-making, budgeting, scheduling, assessment, tools that are important for managers in their work in EOH or EH&S. That administration program is supplemented by 581 EOH programs. And then in research design and our internship program, students get additional training in the field. Next slide, please. So a few recommendations to see if we can increase the opportunities of connecting the counties with the master's level students coming out of CSUN. One idea is to recruit early. Most of our master's students are doing a 2-year program, and trying to get the attention of these students early, particularly the first summer between their 2 semesters, might be a very successful strategy. Potentially recruiting them to come up for an internship, which they need, particularly an internship, maybe working with a current manager, might be a great way to recruit a master's level student prior to the end of their program. Have them come to your county, work with the staff, get management experience, and that would set them up well to bring them in at a later time into a position in the county. And so those 2 first bullets, recruiting early and management-focused internships, I think are ideas that counties can do. On the CSUN campus, when we are meeting on the campus, which is obviously not happening at this time because of the COVID pandemic, there are different opportunities for representatives from the counties to meet with our students. We have a student group which hosts various presentations. We have master's level classes that guest speakers can come into. In fact, you can contact me directly if you're interested in doing that. And we also hold an annual speed mentoring program where we get about 50 to 60 of our students, and they get a chance to speak with various professionals in the field for like 5 minutes. And if we had managers from various counties there, they would have access to the students during that activity. And lastly, I would encourage the counties to hold meetings on our campus. We can assist in finding meeting areas. The Southern California American Industrial Hygiene Association has held an annual meeting on campus now for about a decade. And it's an opportunity for our students to not only meet some of the IHs, but to get it involved in the association. And so that has been a very successful strategy as well. I don't know if there'll be time for questions later, but if not today, I'm always available for questions. I think my email is listed somewhere in the program, and I'll look forward to interacting with people further. Thank you very much.
Okay. So Freddie Agyin will now present what's next.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting us and having us on this panel discussion. So I want to get into, I think, all what the presenters have mentioned, which is really key to our profession moving forward. That, you know, in order to kind of improve the workforce we have and make sure they stay, and then make sure we're able to help them advance in their career. These are, you know, things that we all need to pay attention to. Since Sarah mentioned that, you know, we need to pay attention to the generational gaps and see, you know, what folks actually really want. So I kind of want to touch on what's next. I know our time, we want to leave time for questions, so I'll try and go through quickly. So we have time for some questioning sessions and discussion. Next slide, please. So the 3 things I really was going to try to really focus on and tie back in what we want to get to is, you know, how do we engage? How do we invest in the people that we work with? And then what's the bottom line? So next slide, please. So the first one is the engagement. And this idea is that I took a management training a few years back, and this was some of the things that was really drilled into that course that was given. So it's, you know, how do you empower your staff? How do you enable them to do what they need to do? And how do you make it as an enhancement for them, for the job that they're doing and what they need to do to be successful in that profession? So when we talk about empowerment, how do you ensure that not only they're able to make decisions, but what are you doing to support that decision so that they're empowered to do that? How do you enable them? I think Dr. Sullivan mentioned, people going back to get training, getting a master's degree, or getting different training. How do you support that? And then the last thing on this one is basically enhancing it, making the job worth their time, making the job that they do mean something to them when they come to work every day. Next slide, please. So with that said, it's, I love this slide because it said invest where it counts, but there's a cost and benefits. There's a saying or quote that I read through this one of my training, and says, to get employees invested in you, you need to demonstrate that you are invested in them. And really, that's the bottom line. If you want to make sure that they are invested in you, they need to know that you are invested in them. So how do we do that? So a couple of things I want to throw out there is, we need to discover and leverage each of our employees' strength. And how do we do that? We can do that by having a one-on-one meeting with staff, understanding what their needs are, what their goals are, what their aspirations are, and trying to cultivate that when we get to know them in that level. We need to recognize our employees' accomplishment, and that's how we invest in them. And then we need to encourage and provide resources for learning and development. If people are interested in a management position, how do we know that? When we hire a trainee and now they become a journeyman on the journey level, do we go back and really sit down with them and understand what are their aspirations, what are their goals, what do they want to accomplish? And if we understand that, I think then we're in a position to really help them to achieve that. And I think Dr. Sullivan was right that, I don't think there's no shortage of people interested in management position or becoming a director. I think what folks sometimes don't know is how did they go about doing that? What is the resources available to them? What is the people that they're reporting to? What kind of investment are they really putting into them? So I think understanding that and putting that effort in is really a key. And then the last one on this point I want to make is, provide opportunity for people to advance in your organization. And, you just got to give them that opportunity. Okay, next slide, please. So the next slide I want to touch on is the bottom line. What is the bottom line? And how do we do that? So basically, the bottom line is engagement that I started with. We need to engage, and then it's engagement typically or hopefully equates to a potential increase in productivity because you're giving staff that time that they need to grow. And usually, again, when they know that you invest in them, they pay it back. So it leads to productivity. And also, it also leads to leadership. And not only to leadership, when people now think they have a stake in what is going on and how they can do to really advance their career or understand that they have value in that organization, not only provide leadership, but also provide opportunity for them to move up and able to, be part of your organization or to go to another organization where they can thrive and do good things. So we need to make sure we're doing that. But I think as we're going to touch on the next slide, which I'm going to pass it on to Darryl, is some of the ideas and thinking that I think in the next coming years we want to push and really advance through CCDEH to make sure that we are helping our staff to be engaged and able to move on and hopefully get into management position if they wish to do so. So it's all for you, Darryl.
Thanks, Freddie. And thank you for having me here. Good morning, everyone. I don't have a presentation, so what I'm going to do is just leave you with a question to hopefully facilitate more discussion. And what it comes down to is, are you the boss you wish you had? As leaders, we need to take the responsibility of mentoring our staff. And it's our staff who are the future of environmental health. And over my years, I've seen bosses do certain things, and I don't think I'd do that. But you know, one of them, wasn't in environmental health. It was in another agency where this person came in new, felt that some staff needed to go, and basically really was not a great boss. So there were people were leaving almost like one a month, and there was like about 10 people finally left, and that whole agency just basically collapsed. So I don't see that too many times, but it's something to think about. You know, it does happen. So with that, I'm gonna turn it back to Becky.
So this screen shows some of the discussion, conclusions and recommendations that we came up with after during our study of this subject. We'd like to hear from others, directors, about you know, if you agree with the survey findings, or if there's other recommendations you might have. So we're opening it up to everybody.
So Becky, let me help here. What do you mean by you're opening it up to everyone? Do you want them to provide information in the Q&A?
Well, or if they have questions, yeah, or comments.
Okay. About the survey?
About anything that was said, talked about during the panel.
Okay, so people, what we're requesting is you use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and to go ahead and type in any questions or comments, and I'll relay those to the team. Question from Gary just showed up for Dr. Sullivan. At other universities, who would you recommend we try to contact to get ourselves in touch with those student organizations?
I'm sorry, could you read that one more time? I was trying to find my video and mute button.
Sure. At other universities, who would you recommend that we try to contact to get ourselves in touch with those student organizations? Who are the right contacts at other universities?
Oh, I don't know directly, but I would just speculate that most programs have student run organizations, and I would just contact the department chair of that organization. Like at Northridge is Dr. Nola Kennedy, and at other universities contact the chair, and they should be able to get you connected with the leader of that student group.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, this is a statement, let's see. Definitely think you were spot on when it comes to the conclusions, at least that has been my experience. Also agree with Sarah's general assessment. I found that extremely difficult. That's all I have. I have a question that just my question for the panel, if I could, is you talk about, one of you were talking about succession plans. I think it was either Sarah or possibly Dave. And do you guys have some good examples of some succession plans out there that could be templates or models to be used by other counties? Do we have one at CCDEH? I mean, let's get practical here.
I think that's a great question, Tim, because and the last part of that question was, in my opinion, the best part. Do we have a template? I'm not aware of one.
Speak up, Dave.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not aware of a template that we have at CCDEH. I think Sarah might.
Actually, I don't. I'm sorry.
So maybe that's a charge that this committee can look at, is developing a template for succession planning. That's great lead.
And Tim, yeah, and Tim, this is, I think, one why we recommended that CCDEH University as one example. I think these are the things we want to explore and have those available. So, CCDEH have a role in it where it's not just each county or jurisdiction, but we take all the best practices that's out there. And I think really that is the key is, we need to, we are exploring or having even an interview panel training that goes across county lines, having a mentorship. So those are the things that I think we want to, we want to move forward with it, almost like, this is what CCDH should be exploring. What are the things that we can engage with our directors to make sure that we have not only a succession plan, but we have a workforce that is interested, not only sticking around, but wants to promote it, and not only promote it, not just their jurisdiction, but able to go across the whole county. I mean, the whole state.
Okay. Do any of you have like a kind of a grow your own strategy in your county, in your jurisdiction? Whether it's through students doing internships or hiring extra help and then, promoting them and hiring them. I mean, because the housing is a big issue. And if they're already in your community, you've got a good chance to grow your own sometimes. Have any of you had any success with that?
Here in Marin County, we have had interns, and for the most, so we have had, they were unpaid volunteer internships, and over the past 3 or 4 years, we have had success with one who was an intern, and he is now a trainee. We hired him as a trainee, and he lives here in Marin County, and he will be taking his exam, I think, in March. So that's one success story, but I can't say we've done a lot of them. But
other comments? And
we've done that in Mariposa, just because it's really hard to promote the profession in counties. We don't have a whole lot of success. We've had cases where we were recruiting and didn't get a single applicant. But my problem has been, in the past, has been that I'll bring somebody up. I've brought somebody out of high school, went on, encouraged them. They went on, got their degree, came back, got them trained, and one of my neighboring counties offered them more money, and off they went. I'm actually maybe an example of that myself. I started with Mariposa County as my title was sanitarian aide while I was finishing my degree. And moved up to a trainee type position. Although I graduated from an Option 5 university, I had just had to wait for the slot to be created for myself. And 33 years later, I'm sitting here as the director.
Sarah, what are you going to say?
I was going to say, here in Riverside County, we have an internship program, and we've had a great deal of success with people coming in as unpaid volunteer interns and having that time with us, getting hired, and then becoming successful REHSs here at the county. So we've kind of done the grow your own. We try to train our people within and provide professional development opportunities for them, as well as opportunities for them to apply their knowledge and then move up within our department. So we've had a great deal of success with that.
Okay. Freddie?
And Tim, I was going to add also, actually, and I'm a big fan of student internships. So even in the city, we do pay for it in the summer as a paid interns. And it's been very successful. Our last run we just did, I think we have 2 positions and we have over 100 applicants. Wow. So it's been quite successful. But one thing I want to also add, and I think as directors and managers, is going out and to colleges, conduct Mike mentioned, doing a presentation, find out, the programs. I know when I was in college, I didn't even know there was such thing as REHS or become an EHS. So I take every opportunity I get to do that if I can. And then when I go to conferences, I turn to I seek out the new EHS. Something I make a conscience of and sit with them when it's lunch or opportunity, I can sit and talk to them. And some of the success I've been able to even hire them from other county or other jurisdiction because just the fact that you are talking to them and a position open and somebody apply and you find out later, I applied because I met you at so-and-so conference. So I think, those informal things also are key. And you get opportunity also to share a little of your wisdom of what is going on in your county that they may not understand and they give them, idea. So I think those are things that we can all do a little bit more.
Okay. Our time is about up, but there's another really good question here that I want to pitch to the group real quick. And that's that it's a challenge having a county managed with boomers while trying to motivate and provide a work environment for millennials that maximizes their potential. So somebody talk about that struggle between boomer managers managing millennial staff. I've felt that before myself. So I want to hear some of you talk about that and some ideas.
I can start. I think you need to start off, and Sarah mentioned, we all need to understand our workforce and we need to educate ourselves. It's not one size fits all. You kind of need to understand because yes, sometimes you get frustrated, but you need to understand where they're coming from. And I personally believe too, when you are honest with people and you set expectations and you stick with that, it helps. So I think, just like anything else, you're going to manage different people, different generations, and you have to educate yourself first before you can invest in them.
Here in Marin, I'm fortunate our environmental health services staff is fairly small. And so I get to know each person personally. And so I tend to know what might motivate them and maybe what doesn't. And so I think I approach it from that perspective rather than okay, they're a millennial, so this, maybe some of those stereotypes help, but that's how I've managed the staff.
Makes sense. Dave, any final comment?
Yeah, from my standpoint, I really appreciated Sarah's presentation on this because it opened my eyes to that very issue.
Can't hear you, Dave.
I really appreciate Sarah's presentation on that because it opened my eyes to that very issue and how to help address it. I've been, as I know some of my other boomer colleagues have been frustrated with millennials in particular. You see the eye rolls when you even mention millennial. So this, to me, that was very good to recognize that the workforce is changing and we need to change and move it forward because we're on our way out.
Yep.
And
is there a final word here?
I think one of the main keys to kind of takeaway keys is with this new generation, they very much want feedback. They very much want mentorship. They want people to look up to and talk to. They're very connected, whether it's in person or over technology, they're very connected. And having kind of that one-on-one person that they can go to is pretty key for them. And I didn't even realize it all that much until I was preparing for this. And now I'm taking a new approach even with my own staff.
Very cool. Okay, we're out of time. Becky, Darryl, give you the final word to wrap us up. Or Freddie.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay.
No, what I want to add is I think we all have challenges for staff. We have, retaining and promoting. But I think we shouldn't give up hope. We should strive to see what the aspirations are, what they want to do. And, I think the panel have all kind of touched on that. We all can do a better job of understanding what our staff are. We all can do a better job of doing more engagement. And I think really, part of the survey that I showed in there, sometimes money or those, is a key. However, money, as much as you can make somewhere else, it's not all that it is, it's not gonna make you happy all the time. And when people think they are invested in something, when they think they're in a job that actually cares about them, and when I say that, I'm talking about the leadership, I think they tend to reciprocate and they pay back. So I think as we talk about this, we should all look in the mirror and see, are we really bringing our staff along like as we should? And if we're not, we need to do a little bit more better. And I think if we do that, we can retain most of them.
Okay. Darryl, final word.
Final word, I think we can do better, and I know we will. And with that, we can all say goodbye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good job, everyone.